James, thanks for having us over.
Pleasure, Mark. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Tell us how your great-great-grandfather went about setting up this incredible empire.
Well, I don't remember it very well, but history says he started a wine house, which was probably a pub, but he was fascinated by wine, called the Rising Sun, which was off the Strand in 1870, and that subsequently led to more wine houses, wine shops, a wine import business, cellars in Barking, and bring us to the present day. There's quite a lot of history in between. Don't know how much you want to know right now, but shall I go the whole way? Rising Sun was a pub.
Yeah.
So he called a wine house.
It was a pub. So he set up a pub which was actually called Wine House in 1870.
Yeah.
Which led on to
several more similar properties and the wine
and the wine importing
and
business
supply
as well.
business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did it evolve from there?
Traditional model, which was wine merchants tended to have pubs and shops.
Yeah.
And most of their wares under your own labels or not.
Okay.
Went through those places and whoever else you supplied.
Okay.
But that's how you built your brand. It was fairly traditional for a wine merchant to have its own outlets.
Okay. Are you actually the oldest family wine importer in the country, or one?
With wine bars, yes.
With wine bars,
yes.
You are. Oh, okay,
so
interesting.
There's older wine importers. There's Berry Brothers. There's Corney and Barrow. There's Justerini and Brooks. There's some big famous names.
But they're not family owned anymore, are they?
Berry's is still family owned.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Corney's is privately owned. Justerini's is part of Diageo.
But they haven't got wine bars.
But they haven't got wine bars.
So there.
Corney's did have wine bars, but they. Albinos was quite old, but not as old as us. They were 1879.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
And we
that.
bought Albino in
Did you?
2015, yes.
Because you bought a business to add to your warehousing.
So that was Mayor Sauder.
Right, okay.
Also an old business, an old family business. So our story goes through the wine houses, the wine shops, wine wholesaling, through the wars, and then wine bars is something my father set up, particularly as opposed to wine houses. So there was no beer at all in a wine bar, and it was a brand new thing. So it created a new place for people to go that hadn't existed, and became very, very popular. So for about 40 years, we ceased to be known as wholesalers, because Davy's wine bars became such a big brand. That's what people associated us with. So when I took over the business, we had 45 wine bars.
45?
In those days.
That's extraordinary. How many staff would that have been?
Over probably 500 or 600.
500 or 600. What an incredible operation.
It was a lovely operation. But the niche which we'd filled was becoming filled with other people. So it was getting more and more competitive. And the style of the businesses was very Victorian and quite often underground, with candlelight and sawdust on the floors and cold food.
I remember all that.
Yeah, a lot of port. I mean, a lot of drinking, an enormous amount of drinking. 3-hour lunches were the norm.
Oh, they were? Not anymore?
And the sort of recent history of our business was very successful and had a great relationship with our customers. It was a good time, to put it bluntly.
Especially in the city?
Well, we were in the city predominantly. We did have sites outside of London, but the city was our heart, the heart of Davy's Wine Bars.
Yeah.
And that went into the West End in the 1980s. But that was still 3-hour lunches, early evenings, 5-day weeks. So in hospitality, that was everybody wanted to work for us as well, because you weren't getting home at 1 a.m. and you had your weekend off. So it was unique, and you could make a good living out of 5 days. But everything's changed. People do not drink for 3 hours at lunch. They don't commute 5 days a week. And people are more interested in salads and gyms than necessarily wine bars every day. So that sort of change was happening when I took over the business. and we started pushing back towards wholesaling as well as the wine bars.
Right.
And it was the time, it doesn't seem that long ago, when the internet was coming into being. So
Yes.
so we had an online shop for the first time.
Yeah.
And the wholesaling side of it very organically grew slowly until for about a decade, and then in 2010 we bought Mayor Sauder, the company you were talking about,
And now
and that gave us more accounts.
What percentage of your business is it?
Well, now the wholesale business is 50% of
50%.
of our turnover.
That's huge.
And when I took over, it was about 5%, and before my father's created wine bars, it was probably 50 or 60%. So what goes around comes around, and we've tried to evolve with the marketplace and what's going on.
I'm sure I read somewhere that 90% of your wines are exclusive to you.
Well, not 90%, but a lot of our wines we import exclusively from over 50 wineries around the world.
From small
importers,
producers.
usually family owned.
Yeah.
Same ideals as our own, and wine is a bit like food. The creativity, the craftsmanship is going to be a lot more noticeable when it's a smaller restaurant, if you like, with somebody taking more care over the dishes than a massive canteen. So we try and work with those smaller vignerons who have more time and more care in the vineyard during the winemaking process, and the result comes out in the bottle, and it's detectable. We're lucky, we have a great portfolio and we're known for it. So,
and it must be a very nice experience working with the wine producers that you do work with, because they're smaller operations, family-run businesses, opposed to these enormous conglomerates.
Yeah, I mean, we work with a couple of bigger people because you need to for certain things, but
Yes.
but mostly smaller family-run businesses with lovely people, nice relationships,
And lovely wines.
and amazing wines.
I've tasted a few of them.
And it's there's two sides to being a buyer when it comes to visiting wineries and vineyards and things. One side is a lot of speeding tickets, not much to eat, and early starts and late finishes.
Yes.
And the other side is amazing venues with amazing hospitality and very generous people. It's most enjoyable because we had 45, but we now have 15 wine bars and restaurants. My time's not exclusively available to travel and see the vineyards, but when I get the opportunity, I take it, and it is enjoyable.
I'm sure they're all very glad to see you, and very often they come over here to do wine tasting functions for you as well.
Yeah, they're over here more than I'm over there, if you like. But they enjoy being represented in the UK. They are a business. They need somebody to work with. They like working with us, and we have not only here but in other venues an area where we can set up, introduce our customers to them directly, which is a very two-way street, because the producers love to hear from the consumer, and the consumer love to hear from the producer. So the type of events we put on are, if you like, they're very calm, they're well attended, but they're not overcrowded. Amazingly, people don't drink too much at them. It's all treated quite professionally, both by the consumer and obviously the producer, and it's very informative, and they're good news.
And they enjoy talking about their produce as well. It's nice.
Well, they're proud of what they do.
Of course.
I mean, that is back to that sort of food analogy. That is showing the dish or showing the glass of wine and seeing somebody appreciate it and ask questions about it. That gives them joy, because the rest of the year they are farmers, frankly, and they take what they've farmed and turn it into a brand, for want of a better term, and they can get that direct feedback from somebody who goes, wow, you've done a really amazing job. And I think that's rewarding for them. And also, to be honest, they quite enjoy coming to London.
Yes,
it's one of
course.
Whichever
the greatest city in the world.
It's one of the greatest cities in the world. And although we would probably say it's much nicer to be in Logroño in Rioja,
probably.
They find it quite interesting to come here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So wine bars reached their heyday when would that have been?
I think the 70s was a steep climb. The 80s was a pretty steep climb that began to plateau.
In the 90s, when people started pulling back on their long lunches?
There's a whole factor of things in the 90s. I mean, people have been trying to emulate Davy's wine bars for 15 or 20 years before that and failed.
So you would have been quite groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah, it was a new concept.
Which you introduced.
Which my father introduced. So
Wow.
the point of that is licensing was much harder to achieve in those days. And you had to prove a need. And my father couldn't get a license for a wine bar in the 60s because the magistrates said they don't exist, so there can't be a need. So there's a story around the Vintners Company who had a traditional right to grant a license to a vintner that he managed to have granted to him as a free vintner, enabled him to open the Boot and Flogger in 1965.
Boot and Flogger.
Which, if you haven't been there, you must.
It sounds great. I just want to go there for the name of the That's the Crusty Pipe.
The Crusting Pipe in
Crusting
Covent
Pipe.
Garden is. They all had sort of fairly some quite strange wine-related names. I mean, the Boot and Flogger was named after a boot you put a bottle in, a leather vessel, and a flogger you flog the cork,
Somebody
into
hasn't
it.
just made it up.
No.
Oh, right. Okay.
So
Makes complete
so
sense.
if the bottle breaks, it's protected by the leather. So that was called the Boot and Flogger. But yeah, wine bars did not exist. You couldn't get a license for a wine bar. My father managed to get a free vintner's license,
Yeah.
effectively outside of the magistrate's jurisdiction, and that allowed him to have a license for wine only, including port, sherry, Madeira, but wine and wine derivatives, effectively 24 hours a day then, because it was outside of the normal licensing laws. And that business sparked the 45 wine bars that then grew over the next few years. So coming back to the point, it was plateauing in the late 80s.
Okay.
And in the 90s, everybody...
Plateauing because...
Because of competition.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Right.
the city particularly was offices with no retail in the 60s and 70s and really the early 80s.
Yeah.
You could not imagine, unless you were there, how different it is today, where you've got shops, bars, restaurants, superstores, you name it, department stores, everything in each street in the city. Whereas before it was purely offices with nothing else, except maybe around a corner there'd be an old pub. There used to be coffee bars on some corners, which is kind of ironic because now they're everywhere. And then if you went around a corner and into a basement, you'd find a Davy's wine bar, and that was where the city folk chose to entertain clients, because otherwise they'd have to take them to a pretty grotty pub or somewhere like the Savoy, which is very expensive and not that convenient. So that space began to get filled during the 80s with competition, with other types of offer. Plus, bearing in mind we were mostly basements then, people started to travel in the 80s. So suddenly they'd come back and want the equivalent of today's Aperol Spritz or a bit of dining on the terrace or al fresco. And we weren't offering that. And suddenly being charming and Victorian became old-fashioned for a period. I mean, I think it's completely come round again because what we offer is very authentic surroundings.
It is a truly wonderful environment you've got here.
Well, I mean, if you like it, you love it. If you think you don't like it, you might love it.
I think you need to come and check it out.
But,
it blew me away, honestly, James. A really fantastic place you've got.
We'll
here.
have to walk around later and have a look.
Absolutely.
But a lot of what rose out of the 90s in hospitality and retail was quite plastic and metal and glass and modern, because
Yes.
suddenly that's what people wanted to see.
Yeah.
And that had a sort of shelf life, but the impact on our business was quite severe in terms of competition, getting us back to why we started wholesaling again, and which brings us to the present day. But the fact that we're 15 wine bars and restaurants and not 45 is actually just a case of there's no longer room for 45. The square mile is literally that, and we were a bit in the West End, so we we were competing with ourselves. That was difficult enough, but when you start competing with yourself and everybody else down the street, it just wasn't feasible to maintain all those places.
And of course, COVID changed the landscape for you entirely.
Yeah, COVID has been, obviously for lots of businesses, and particularly hospitality, some really, really good operators went out of business.
Yes.
And I just feel we're lucky because we've got strength in depth, if you like, from 5 generations, but we're a lot weaker than we were before COVID because we've used up a lot of that strength.
Thank heavens for the wine importing, I guess.
Well, the different sides of the business helped.
Yeah.
I mean, when we went into COVID, we went into COVID employing over 400 people. Sadly, we had to say goodbye to a lot of those. Just not possible to keep hold of them. We had to say goodbye to some our businesses as and when we could get out. Our retail side, in terms of home delivery, went from rose tenfold during COVID.
Very nice too.
And the wholesale, we as and when the little openings came along in sort of later October of that year, we managed to keep going a bit. But here in the warehouse, I always feel a bit bad for the warehouse team because they, over COVID, worked longer and harder than anybody else in the business who mostly, as we know, most of the UK was walking in the sunshine,
doing press-ups in
raising
the garden.
a glass over the fence to a neighbour.
Very nice too.
And doing press-ups in the garden, obviously. But the team here were literally 12 hours a day picking and packing to supply our customers at home. In fact, our biggest selling wine is Davy's White Burgundy through our entire business. And in COVID,
a beautiful wine.
It's a lovely wine.
I have tried it.
And during COVID,
beautiful.
We sold more to home delivery during that period than we would normally sell throughout the whole business. Because it appears some customers, understandably, couldn't be at home without Davy's White Burgundy, which they probably have here during their lunch breaks and things. So yeah, it was very busy.
And that retails at £16 a bottle or something for a white Burgundy. It's extraordinary.
It's quite a competitive area, white Burgundy, for our wine merchants. Our competitors are in and around the same thing. We're not the least expensive, but I think if you put them side by side, we're the best.
I think it's much better than others I've tasted in the price range.
Thank you.
And other house brands as well.
Yeah.
By quite a long way, in fact.
Thanks very much.
So COVID kicked in,
Yeah.
and obviously it wasn't just the fact you couldn't open your wine bars. Everybody started moving to working from home as well, and that had a dramatic effect on all restaurants and bars, I think.
Yeah, it has. And again, I've talked for the whole sector. The change, the evolution, which is probably 20 years of evolution in the space of 2 years, in terms of customer behaviour, trends, the things they want to spend money on, how and when they spend that money. COVID was difficult, and lots of businesses went out of business. But what's been hardest for us is the recovery out of COVID, if you have operations in the city, because this new work from home culture. I mean, if you'd asked me for a Zoom call or kind of what it used to be called, a Skype call, pre-COVID, I would have gone, no. I'll speak to you on the phone or we'll meet. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. But now, obviously, people weigh up the pros and cons of a meeting. Do I get a train to London to have that meeting with Mark for half an hour? Or do I just say, let's do it on Teams? There's a kind of logic to let's do it on Teams. But if you're a retailer or in hospitality, hoping that person's going to come to London and they don't, it's horrendously damaging and changes our model completely.
So the problem being that people aren't in London to come to your wine bars anymore, or to the extent that
it's been a slow burn, if you like. Initially, nobody. Then
Fridays and Mondays, I think, are...
Fridays are shattered.
Dead.
Yeah. Mondays are quiet. And
I hear Sundays are quite busy again now, actually.
Well,
you're not even... Are you open at the weekends?
Sundays we're open in Greenwich, we're open in Covent Garden, we're open in the Boot and Flogger, which is the edge of the city.
Flogger.
But that's probably the only 3 that are open on Sunday. The wine shop's obviously open.
And during the week, you only open during the day in the city, is that correct?
No, we're open days and
nights
evenings.
as well, and that's from Monday to Friday.
Monday to Friday. In some places where we can,
Sundays as well.
Where we can, we're Saturday. Where we can, we're 7 days. But there's not many places that actually can do that with the types of areas we're in. But our problem and our challenge rather is it's not as simple as turning the tap on and off. If you want to hold the team, you can't just shut Friday or Monday. You need to present. You need to give everybody enough hours to make a living.
And
so we just
everything.
Hang on. We obviously do what we can to try and attract people, whilst we're hoping that some sort of normality. And what is normal? We slightly lost our barometer to what normal is. I think normal might be, let's say, given another couple of years, 4 days a week for most people, but we're a long way off that. I mean, I look at newspaper articles. There was one about HSBC the other day saying, we're going to get the management, or maybe the whole lot, I don't know, back to work.
Probably not the management.
Not in the high street, not in the high street, but in the offices. And you go, well, that's great news. And then you read down, it's because they're only coming in 1 or 2 days a week, so they don't even do a 3-day week.
No.
And that's, there are some examples of 5-day weeks. I think the J.P. Morgan's, Goldman Sachs. There's some quite loud examples of we're doing five days now, but you don't hear about the rest because they're quietly under the radar.
No.
Just operating differently.
And of course, the other thing that everybody's forgotten about is Brexit, which I guess
not good
has made things quite difficult from an importing point of view.
Horrendous. I mean, Brexit. I almost don't want to go there.
Probably don't want to discuss it in too much detail.
Over 50% of our workforce was from Europe.
I was going to come on to that. Employing must be very difficult now.
Well, we had to write to everybody after breakfast, and if only it had been as simple as breakfast, and just say, listen, you are of value to us. We're going to do everything we can to help you work out how to stay.
But they can't.
And it wasn't that, whether it's visas or I mean, the whole thing. It's the same for our children, if you like. Go and work in Europe.
But
I need a visa. It's boring. But and companies in the square mile post Brexit started looking at Frankfurt, Paris, Milan. I think they were looking at other options because London was damaged by it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't good for us, but I don't think it was good for anybody. But that puts my colours on the mast.
But importing wine becomes a lot more difficult as well, because the paperwork is existential.
It is.
Existentially increased. I
mean, everything.
Don't even know that's
whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's just faff, it's all increased.
And
what they call red tape.
The price of wine has shot up as well.
There's a number of reasons for that are Brexit related, because if there's more paperwork, if there's more time, that costs.
And you're paying duty on wine now, presumably, as well, are you?
We always pay duty, but the duty has escalated unreasonably for wine, I would say. Well, I would say that, but I do believe that. And if you take it's not really it might be a Brexit associated, but if you take a bottle of relatively inexpensive wine at, let's say £6, maybe a quarter of that is wine, and the rest of it's tax, shipping, labels, capsules, glass. It's incredible how that sort of varies by price point to when you're actually getting more wine in the bottle and more value. Probably up to about £10 is where you start to hit some value range in terms of the amount of wine you're actually paying for, because it just starts moving away from pure tax.
So you've kind of reinvented yourself here as well, which is your flagship headquarters.
Yeah,
40,000 square feet, I think.
Well,
it's absolutely enormous.
I mean, this is it's always been important to us, and we didn't come here till 1969 because our cellars were in Barking before that.
Ah, okay. You own the premises. It's freehold, Grade 2 listed.
Yeah.
Georgian, I think.
A lot of it's Georgian. So some of it's Victorian at the back. The brewery at the back was built in 1856 by a family called Lovibond. In fact, the lane over there is called Lovibond Lane.
Oh, interesting.
And I know the Lovibond family, as it happens. But yeah, when I joined the business, we had offices in London Bridge, and we had our cellars down in Greenwich, and that's how we that was the sort of how we viewed it. That the cellars were in Greenwich and the offices were in London Bridge, and it was more about the wine bar operation and then the supply operation. Various things happened, and partly the London Bridge redevelopment, which is of the station, because we were in the arches of that.
What an incredible building!
It's a very cool building,
very
but
cool.
Less cool for us when we were kicked out of it. So I brought everything down here, which has been really good for the business, because you only need to create one other hub, and you start getting cracks in between culturally, as well as all sorts of very minor communication issues, which become major. Anyway, so we moved everybody down here in about 2012, and we've been investing and building this part of the business beyond what it was ever since. We already had a wine bar here, and we had a shop, and we had our cellars. But bearing in mind the wholesale business was growing enormously, the cellars have got a lot busier, there's more vehicles, more people involved. The shops continue to get busier. But
lovely shop.
Sorry?
Lovely shop.
Thank you. I think there's over 600 lines there, and a lot of them the exclusive imports we
lovely
bring in.
Staff you've got as well.
Team people make it. It's just
I
a
think
building.
you were saying you've really hit the sweet spot with who you've got here at the moment. Everything's just working very well.
Yeah. I mean, you can spend a lot of money making a place look nice, but it's dead until the people follow with that sort of culture of how you want to behave and how you want to be seen.
There's a lovely feeling as you walk through, everybody's smiling, and
that's so important to us.
The service is wonderful, that I found anyway. But you've grown the business here beyond the wine bar.
Yes, absolutely.
So you now have award-winning bar domains.
So we have the world's best
boutique
interior, as voted in March, I think.
Very cool.
Over 40
rock and
countries
roll playing in the background.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's part of it's sort of after my own heart, and part of it's after what I think will work. But a colleague who joined as our finance officer, chief finance officer, during COVID, part of his background had been in 10-pin bowling. So we were already looking at experiential type businesses to bolt on to the wine bar and the yard, which is the only thing I thank COVID for, because the yard, which is now 100 cover bar and restaurant, beautiful, if you like, space. Used to be car parking and skips pre-COVID.
Was it?
Yeah.
But you can't envisage that.
The gates were sort of razor wire and keep out, and now we put on really nice gates and they're open.
Lovely space.
And that was because of COVID, because you could only sit outside for a while. So that was probably the only thing that I could ever imagine saying, great COVID. So we extended the yard. We'd already put in escape rooms above the wine bar, where we have 3.
Run by Houdini
Escape.
Who are professional escape.
When we looked at the escape market, which was all new to me, Houdini were the best. And just happened to be interested in a conversation with us.
They're very cool. Very cool indeed.
Yeah, well, they're fun. I mean, I didn't expect them to be. It wasn't the kind of thing that I thought I would do, but obviously in researching I did a few, and I'm not very good at it, but it's really enjoyable. And it's if you've never done it before, the theatre, the cinema, almost that whole, you walk into a film set. It's not a room with a Rubik's Cube on the table.
Oh, they're very cool. It's not just like a little room with a
sound, light,
Yeah.
energy, the whole thing's there, and it's really well done.
Proper escape rooms.
And it was those escape rooms and that joint venture which made us think we need more experiential. We want to make this place, which is, as you pointed out earlier, quite a lot of thousands of square feet, a hub of entertainment for South East London, if that's not too grand an aspiration.
And the
certainly
local
for Greenwich and
Blackheath
and
Greenwich,
Lewisham and everywhere around us. So we're on that journey.
And then you went into the bowling.
And 10-pin bowling, well, we looked at the space, which had been offices, then became storerooms. We looked at the space and sort of said, do you think we could fit a 10-pin bowling? And we had it measured up, and yes, we could, was the answer. And then...
So you did, and it was like, oh, how much is that going to cost? Yeah, okay, do it anyway.
It's horrendously expensive.
Yeah.
And the upside, well, if you're going to spend a lot of money, you've got to like the result.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, you're only going to do it once, do it properly.
And I haven't met any, well, we won the world's best interior, so people obviously agree.
Did you?
But you walk through, and from the moment you walk from the yard, I mean, even going into the yard is quite an experience, through the corridors, up these Victorian sort of warehouse staircase, into the lanes. I can only say it's brilliant, and the game itself is fun. We know that's...
It's very cool. My teams have used it a couple of times for nights out, and they said it was the most fabulous experience. And the food's very good as well.
It's bowling food, but a good version.
A good version.
I mean, you take any sort of food, whether it's a fish and chips or, I mean, that's in the lanes we do burgers and pizzas and chicken and the bowling food. But you can go to a bowling, another bowling venue, and you probably aren't that excited by the food, and you don't really want your kids eating it. Ours is a healthy version, as far as you can be. So it's just better, and I think it's very tasty. And there's wine there, and there's lovely cocktails, and there's good draft beer in it. But I think more than all of that, which are the expected minimal offer, is the people are really nice, and it's back to that team and the culture and the service and the welcome. And I mean, I'm detecting you haven't done it yet, so I can see that's something that's...
I haven't done it. I'm really looking forward to it. And I haven't done the escape rooms either. But I've been in them, and they look absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think it just creates... It is just more than the wine bar. So you have got wine tastings. You've got...
I think
special dinners with paired wines and...
Yeah.
Rioja evenings with paella.
We've got a Malbec and a Malbec evening with barbecue, because you'd expect that from Argentina. You're coming, are you?
I am now. Now I know about it.
With Duriguti, who are our exclusive importer wine from Winery from Argentina. They're coming over for that, and that'll be fun. But I mean, our fortune is that, I don't mean fortune financially, but it'd be nice if it worked that way too. But our luck is that we are we have a lot of depth to our brand or identity. So we're wine merchants with these various avenues to offer our wines and our service through. So I mean, in my ideal world, you go into a Davy's, whether it's the shop or whether it's the bowling alley or whether it's the wine bar, and you just sense there's a bit more to it than going to a pub down the street or a restaurant down the street, because there's so much history. And as you say, we can offer masterclasses for wine, we can offer wine education classes, we can offer tasting dinners and just various, and music to wine. We've got a music to wine evening coming up.
Oh yes, so it was featuring wines from 2 different countries, I think.
Well, actually, it's about 6 different countries.
But there were 2 different musicians, I think.
Well, yes, there's some people I've got to know well who are world class in every sense. I mean, Martin, who's the pianist, has run Lisbon Opera House, and he's a very well known conductor, and his wife Joanna is a virtuoso violinist. I mean, this is proper. I'm just lucky that we know them, and they've very nicely said they'd love to perform here, and we put on an evening with 6 wines that will be tasted against, so Portuguese wine against some Portuguese music, and some, as you can get, the French wine, French music, and some charcuterie boards. So it'll be informal, but really special.
Yeah. But it's not just about coming here with your friends. You can come here with your family as well.
You can come with your family.
Because there's so much to do.
You can get married here.
You can get married here and start creating a family. But there are so many. Maybe not. There's so many young families around here.
Yeah.
Kicking their heels.
Yeah.
I mean, in holidays, come up to the bowling lane, come up to the escape rooms. What a great day out.
It could be a day out. And we also put on days that, it would suit us if someone wants to choose to make it a day out. Have breakfast here, go and do the lanes, have a bit of lunch, go and do the escape rooms, get some wine education. You could have a day here. But we also put on days like our wine tasting that's on the beginning of September the 13th, I think, where we've got 70 wines. There'll probably be about 200 people coming for the day. There's a live band. There's producers here. You can taste, you can talk, you can have some barbecue. So it is like going out for an extended period of time, and when that's finished, the live band strikes up and you might have a few, once your professional tasting's finished, you might actually allow yourself to drink a bit in the yard.
Of course.
and it's a very lovely atmosphere, and they're very well attended. And we've done car exhibitions here.
Have you?
Yeah, we did one.
They're very cool.
Yeah, and we've done a Christmas fair here with different stalls.
Oh, it's perfect for
it. So we can create all that sort of thing as well, and we're hoping to do that this year. Snow machines and bits and pieces, and so there is a lot to do here, and we're going to keep. The aim is succeed really well, add the next thing on, succeed really well, add the next thing on.
So this is just it's not even the first chapter.
We're on the journey.
Maybe the 5th chapter, but there are further chapters to come.
We're on the journey. We have another room above the bowling.
I've been around. You've got a stack of unused spaces,
and we've had various conversations with. There's a lot in the experiential world. Whether it's darts or shuffle or golf or whatever. As long as we can do it well, we're quite keen to add the next thing. We were keen to add a brewery or a winery in an area just off the yard. We might still do that, but and a bakery would be nice too. But we can get carried away with these ideas, and my team will say, "Can we just finish making the last thing brilliant?" And they've got a point. So
yeah. Well, we've booked our Christmas lunch here because I was
Thank you.
blown away by the place when I came over. I went home to my wife and said, "You've got to come down to this place. I haven't been here for a little while." It's just amazing how lucky people are to have all this on their doorstep.
Well, it's nice to think that people might feel like that. We're just here to do what we can in that sort of, in hospitality you can't get ahead of yourself. You might think it's amazing, but it's up to the customer to agree and find it that way. So we try and make that impression on people every time.
Well, thank you, James. Should we have a
quick
wander
around? Yeah.